So in April, we thought it would be an excellent idea to buy last-minute impulse tickets to Madeira from Lisbon because we found some for 35 euros, and let me just tell you, it was one of the best decisions we made all year. I have to say we were a little bit nervous flying into the Madeira airport because we did hear horror stories about the landings, but on our day it was perfectly fine, and we've been told that only experienced pilots fly here. The public transportation system in Madeira is also excellent. You can get by bus pretty much everywhere, and that's one of the first things we did when we got out of the airport was get on a bus to Forum Madeira, which is a mall that was next to our hotel, and we arrived at night, so that was pretty much just a travel day, and I'm counting day one as our first full day there. So we actually woke up very early to watch the sunrise, and it's a 10 out of 10 experience that I highly recommend you do. The hotel we stayed at had a beautiful view to the ocean, and pretty much anywhere you stay does since the island is so small, but we really enjoyed kind of just sitting on the terrace and working a little bit since we did bring work with us. And after that, we hopped on a bus, which you can buy week passes for, by the way, which I don't really think makes it cheaper, but it definitely makes it much more convenient that you don't have to buy a ticket every single time that you get in the bus. We got on the bus to the center of Funchal, which is the main city in Madeira, and we decided to start off by just exploring. Since we did go in the spring, all of the trees had a bunch of flowers and the weather was excellent. It was about 28 degrees Celsius, so walking around and getting to just enjoy the view was really fun. And we actually went to the main street in Funchal to try to get this bread called bolo do caco, which is a bread with a meat type of slice on top of it, and it usually has garlic butter and tomato and lettuce, and it is delicious. And so it had to be one of the very first things that we did while here. Right in the center, you'll also find this really colorful, beautiful Madeira sign, which is a really fun place to take pictures. And if you go in the spring, you'll get to enjoy the purple flowers of the jacquarded trees, which I highly recommend. And you can also see these in Lisbon actually if you come around the spring. Now you'll notice that a lot of the activities that we did on this trip were very adventure based, and this is why I always tell people, especially if you're like us and you like to adventure on your travels, to always make sure that you get travel medical insurance. You never know when bad luck is going to strike, and we just always feel really comforted by the fact that if one of us gets hurt or even just randomly sick, that we wouldn't be facing really high medical bills. We've tried several different travel medical insurances, but the one I found, I think like first when I was first looking it up, was Safety Wing, and they are very kindly partnering with us on today's video, which I'm really excited about because I knew about them even before they asked to partner up. And one of the main reasons I love Safety Wing is that you can be super last minute like us and buy your tickets like on impulse, and you don't have to worry about it because you can literally subscribe to their travel medical insurance while you are on your journey abroad. So you don't have to worry about thinking ahead. Sometimes we plan in advance and so we think about it, but in the times that we don't, we kind of just are able to book it last minute, which is really, really handy. It also offers global coverage with continuous coverage across 180 plus countries, which means that if you're hopping from country to country like we sometimes do, you don't have to worry about making a new policy in every single country, and you're covered up to $250,000. We also didn't really like that most travel medical insurances have copays, and this one has a $0 copay. So if you have like a $30 claim on something, if you bang yourself up on accident and you need to go to the hospital, you can just claim the entirety of that bill back and just tell them what happened. I also cannot stand that lately every single insurance seems to be using bots for their chats, and Safety Wing uses 24/7 human support, so you always know that you're talking to an actual person and they respond in less than a minute, which is very handy, especially in case of an emergency. As you see, one of the very first activities we did on this trip was get on a boat tour. We were meant to go looking for dolphins and whales. Unfortunately, the waters were a little bit too choppy for this activity, and we didn't end up seeing any wildlife, but that's completely normal. That's what you get when you go looking for them in nature. And the boat company very kindly offered to give us discounted, like extremely discounted tickets for us to try again. We ended up not having time to, but I highly recommend you give this activity a try because it's also a very beautiful way to see the island from the ocean perspective. And once once again, don't forget to get travel medical insurance with Safety Wing if you're going to be out and about, so you can adventure in the comfort of knowing that you're always covered no matter what happens. We actually decided to get up early again on day 2 because, as you'll be able to see from this time lapse, the sunrises here never get tiring. They're absolutely beautiful. And on this day, we went on a Jeep tour. I will leave all the links to the activities we did down below so you can find them and book them yourself. But we went on this super cool Jeep tour, and the tour starts with them picking you up from your hotel, and they take you 40 minutes up north in the direction of Porto Muniz. The views on the way there are beautiful. This tour starts really early because it lasts all day long, and it's a really simple way for you to explore the island if you don't want to rent a car, you don't feel comfortable, or you just don't want to have to think about where to drive and where to go and where to park. For us, it felt much simpler than trying to rent a car, especially because when you go with a tour guide, you get all the information, so you actually get to learn about the place. And our first official stop was at the Véu da Noiva waterfall, which is this beautiful waterfall that looks like a bride's veil, which is what it's called in Portuguese, and it comes out of the mountain, and it's just breathtaking, absolutely beautiful. At this point is where they opened up the top of the Jeep as well. I also want to give a huge shout out to Chris and TJ, who were our tours on this guide. They were fantastic and super funny too, so they made the trip very entertaining. This tour is not for you if you're a little bit This tour is not for you if you're afraid of heights or faint of heart, because they go up some very steep hills, and as much as it was extremely fun, I also wanted to poop myself at some points because I was so scared, so just keep that in mind. Our next stop was the Praia do Seixal, which is a beautiful black sand volcanic beach, and it's super secluded, absolutely beautiful. They gave us enough time to explore each of these locations, which is something I don't usually like about many tours, is that you feel like you're go from one place to the other. But here they really gave you enough time to just explore. We could have swam if we wanted to. It was a little bit chilly, so we opted not to and decided to just explore the nature and the waterfalls instead. I also wanted to actually pick up the sand so you could see just how dark it is, because the camera wasn't picking up how dark it really is, but it really is black sand, which is super fun. Our next stop was the Piscinas Naturais of Porto Muniz, which are the natural pools of Porto Muniz, and even though it was a little bit chilly on this day, we decided to go in and swim anyway, because what a cool experience it is to be able to swim in volcanic pools, and the water was not too cold but also not too warm, so just keep that in mind. They do have changing rooms that you can use, and the entrance was, I believe, €3 per person, so it also wasn't anything too expensive. They have a bar, they have lifeguards, so especially if you're traveling with little kids, it's really nice. You feel very safe. Go earlier in the morning because it does get a little bit busy, but other than that, just enjoy your time there. So after the pools is where it really got interesting, because that's when we started going up the windy, very high up roads. And this is when Chris, our tour guide, started taking us up very steep roads. Don't forget, these guys do this like every single day, so they're very experienced. We always felt very safe. But here's a little clip of what it looked like to be at the back of the Jeep while this was happening.
One, I can understand maybe as well that you are scared, but don't worry. You can close your eyes. I do the same.
stop was the Fanal Forest, which is known for these beautiful, mystical looking trees. It's usually foggy up here, which gives it like a really fantasy type vibe, but today it was a really sunny day, so we just walked around and enjoyed the views. Our next stop was this really cool restaurant in the middle of absolutely nowhere that they stop at when you go with the tour. You're not obligated to eat here, but we do recommend that you do because the food was really, really, really good. After this, we got to go off-roading. It's like very safe, predetermined roads, obviously, but Chris asked us if anyone wanted to stand up. I was really nervous, but I ended up doing it and I highly recommend it.
So, who wants to try it? Nobody? Oh. Going to find a Vacasaurus in there or a T-Rex, but don't worry, when necessary I'm a fast driver, meaning that I leave the car standing, you will be the lunch and I go running, of course. Look at that. Oh.
I almost lost my hand there. I wasn't looking, so I'm glad you said something.
I cannot describe the experience, you really have to try for yourself, but if you are going to Madeira Funchal anytime soon, please, please, please go look at the link in the description where I put the Jeep tour, because this Jeep tour is a 10 out of 10 experience. I know that I say this a lot and I give things a 10 out of 10, but genuinely it was breathtaking. The very last stop on this Jeep tour is actually Cabo Girão, which is one of the highest cliff viewpoints in the world. And this is one of those that is really not for you if you're afraid of heights, because it's like 500 meters up in the air and it has a glass walkover type little bridge where you can enjoy the views of this beautiful blue water, and you can take pictures that kind of look like you're just in the sky. It's out of this world beautiful. You do have to pay entry fee for this separately from the tour, but it's one of those like €2 fees that is very worth the price. Unfortunately, that meant our tour had come to the end, so we went to Funchal city center again and ended up grabbing some more of that delicious steak that we had for lunch and headed back to our hotel, very tired but very fulfilled. On day 3, we took a very slow day. We started off kind of just hanging out in our hotel room. We enjoyed the pool for a little bit. And after that, we went to the Botanical Gardens of Madeira. We took a taxi here. There are various ways that you could get up here. We decided to go for a taxi. They don't have Uber on the island, but they do have Bolt, which is pretty much the same thing. And Bolt just allows you to call a local taxi, which just makes it easier because you're allowed to pay with like a credit card and you know the price ahead of time. So when we got to the garden, we paid €7.50 per person. And we just walked around and enjoyed nature. I really think that we nailed this by coming here in the spring, but I think it's beautiful all year round, and you get a beautiful view of Funchal from above as well. On day 4, we got on the famous cable carts that start at Funchal city center, but you can also do what we did and take a bolt up there and then only take the cable cart on the way down. We did this because the cable cart is really expensive. It's like 20 euros per person each way. And so we decided, you know, the view would be good down or up, so we just do it one time. To get here, you just ask to be dropped off at Monte Palace, Madeira. And this is also the area where you can get those very traditional like toboggan rides. Don't do what we did and show up on a Sunday because they don't run on Sundays. But yes, it is 30 euros about per person, and we didn't do it not because we didn't want to, but because we showed up there on a Sunday and it was unavailable. So we ended up just exploring Monte Palace instead.
Pode crer, não preciso de você.
They have a very cool indoor kind of mineral rock exposition, which is beautiful. It's got all these kind of crystals, and it's also got a lot of Asian roots throughout the garden. So it's a very surreal experience because you can tell and feel that you're in Portugal, but you also feel like you're in a little garden somewhere in Tokyo. So it's a beautiful place to just explore, hang out, take some pictures, and enjoy the culture. They also have a lot of the traditional Portuguese songs and dances going on, so you can also sit and enjoy that, or even enjoy some of the swans and flamingos that are hanging out around the lake. As I mentioned earlier, we only took the cable carts on the way down. They are very high up, so again, if you're afraid of heights, this is not for you. You can go by bus or by taxi, but if you do enjoy a good view, then I highly recommend this. After that, we stopped at a rooftop restaurant and enjoyed these squids and meat that were to die for. We did have this meat a lot, but I'm telling you, if you try it once, you'll want to keep eating it your entire vacation. And we finished off that meal with a little glass of ponche, which is local alcoholic beverage, and it's really fruity and very delicious. We only had the morning on day 5 to enjoy because our flight was in the afternoon, so we decided to go to the natural pools near our hotel. These are called the Piscinas Naturais da Doca do Cavacas, which is a very complicated way of saying natural pools of Doca do Cavacas. And to get here, you can just take a bus and get out at the stop called Forum Madeira, which is that shopping mall that I told you guys about earlier. You have to pay an entry fee to get to these pools, and I believe it was like 4 euros per person, and you can pay a little bit more if you want one of the lounge chairs. We only stayed here for about 30 minutes because we really had to run and get ready for our flight, and I think that even the 30 minutes we spent here were amazing. The water was very chilly, but it was just such a good experience. You feel so fresh and you feel so in touch with nature here. We actually ended up befriending a group of 2 British dudes. If you're watching this, shout out to you for filming us because we never got shots of us together, so we really appreciate you.
If it wasn't our phone, it would be creepy.
Yeah. Think I'd be getting arrested if it wasn't your phone.
Thank you.
You are.
After that, we just grabbed our bags, got on the bus that goes straight to the airport, and went back to the airport for a quick flight back home. If you like this video, please don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe. Thanks again to Safety Wing for partnering with us for this video, and I'll see you again in our next travel guide. Bye!